Hello everyone, welcome to AIX Music, your backstage pass to the latest and wildest ways that AI is shaking up the music world. If you thought AI was just a fancy plugin, get ready because musicians, producers, and anyone with a guitar or a DAW, you're about to get a crash course in how the game is changing fast. We've got AI pedals that clone your favorite guitar tones on the fly, software that can make a scratch vocal sound like Beyonce, streaming platforms that are waging wars on AI spam, and even more surreal, an AI artist just charted on Billboard with a multi-million-dollar record deal. So, if you've ever been worried about ethics in music and AI, we've got some surprises for you too with I am teaching AI ethics at ASU. So by the end of the episode, you'll understand not just what's happening through some news stories, but why it matters and how you can actually use it to protect yourself in your creative workflow and how you can grow your workflow and thrive in the new industry. So let's dive in, starting with a story that literally lets your guitar play like anyone you want.
As a nude rocket, and if you let all the signs and traces go.
Groundhog Audio has just launched the OnePedal, a guitar pedal that uses AI to match the tone of virtually any song live. So you think about that for a second, you can stomp on the pedal and sound like Hendrix, Santana, or anyone you've ever dreamed of jamming with. But it's not just a cool gimmick, it's basically a whole new tool for practice, live performance, and even songwriting. We've been able to do it within DAWs for a while, but it takes some work and mixing. Here, you're able to just AI your way to the sound. So it's a different form typical modeling amps take, because it doesn't actually approximate a sound. It analyzes the track, and in real time, it adopts your tone. So the implications are massive for guitarists, producers, and even studio musicians who want to versatilely create sounds without creating a wall of gear. Now you have the aptly named OnePedal. So what are the artist implications on this thing? So on the good side, live performers can now mimic any tone, without months of tweaking pedals, messing with it. That's the bright side. On the low side, there's something in that. There's some newness in that. There's some fun. There's the dirt of it, which I believe will still exist, but again, it's another option. Songwriters are going to be able to experiment with iconic sounds instantly that can help boost inspiration. And I can even speak to putting my music into Suno and hearing my recording played back to me with another band in a different style really does open your eyes, kind of gives you even a positive influence on your music, lets you hear somebody else's interpretation of what you heard in your head and maybe could not get out of your head for years. And then for studio engineers, it could streamline the session workflow, obviously, by matching reference tones on the fly. So rather than sitting there trying to copy the tone, you'll be able to directly copy it and manipulate it from there. Now, whether you feel that that's something that sets you in a lower position as a mixer, if you're not able to put as much touch on it, if you can think of some clients that are going to bring you some track sounds that they believe would fit in the whole mix but won't just because it sounds like so-and-so, those problems might be raised. But again, it's going to be a give and take. But it's something to consider, and I'd be interested to hear how you guys have been experiencing people asking you about AI plugins, how you've been using it if you have, or if you're afraid of it. I'd love to know. So what are your specific takeaways from the OnePedal? So we now know AI can dramatically compress a learning curve, and tone replication is now going to be instant. How the fans take this kind of a thing, I don't know how the punk scene is going to take this kind of thing, for example, or whatever. I think it's going to be genre specific, as most things are. So it's going to be something that's going to be easy to copy. You'll be seeing a lot of it. It might anger you that something you took years to develop is just now being easily copied by some kid with the OnePedal. But it's something to keep in mind. Number 3, there's a new baseline for what counts as an original tone in recordings. I'm not going to say that we for sure have that baseline because we haven't all agreed on what we feel about any of this, but it's an always shifting topic. But again, this is a new contender in the ring for what is an original piece of music. And a lot of people argue we've lost some of the originality throughout the last couple of decades through sampling and other things. That's not necessarily my view. But I understand it. But we adjusted to that, and we'll likely adjust to this. So for you guys, if you could instantly sound like any guitarist ever, who would you choose and why? I'd love to hear the sounds that you guys really love, that you've always grew up on, that you wanted to replicate. And I want to know, does it make you happy that you can just copy that sound? Or does it make you feel a little bit less awe about the thing? I don't know. It's an interesting idea. So let me know what you guys think. So number 2, AI voices that are studio ready. So that was the guitar. Now we're on the voice. So IK Multimedia's Resing is another game changer. It takes basic vocal sketches, kind of like what I've thrown into Suno, and turns them into fully protected or produced natural sounding performances, possibly protected as well based on how they're doing it, copyright wise. So there'll be no more time spent coaching scratch vocalists on re-recording takes. Resing can produce a studio quality vocal that's indistinguishable from a human performance. So now again, I think the knee-jerk reaction is going to be like, artists are losing it. Who wants to hear AI? I understand all that. From a songwriter's perspective, possibly not a singer, but a songwriter only, which can be two different things. They might enjoy this. They might, want to hear their music through somebody that can sing better than them, how they've, envisioned it, and may not have a human. And maybe this leads them to a real human performance or more human collaboration because the actual vision has exited and left and been able to be ingested. Because I know that a lot of my songs were vision only in my head, and even when I put them down, they didn't look like my vision. So possibly this gets you closer. And you take that and you springboard with that, with real people, and enjoy the music and the creation. Even though it's marketing, if that's where you're going, you got to enjoy the damn thing. So what are the takeaways for you guys on this one? Obviously, AI voice tools can now reduce the production friction, but they're going to raise ethical questions. I know that some companies are focusing on only licensed voices, so that is going to hopefully jump you past the legality concept. But again, everything is still in flux. A lot of lawsuits flying, a lot of judgments partially closed. So everything is in limbo. So that is a big takeaway to keep in mind with anything you produce in any AI-inspired music, tools, plugins. Make sure to look at the copyrights there. Just so that if you do monetize, if you do get a hit, they don't come back at you with a clause and go, oh, actually, we own this song. Have a good one. All your streams are ours. It's possible. I'm not sure that's what they're aiming towards as they create sort of trust with people. But you never know. Contracts aren't a fun thing, as musicians often know. Another takeaway is that the line between a demo and a finished product has already been blurred and is further blurring. Now with all this production equipment, it's tough to bring just a tape with some garage take of your music. People can produce already finished products. That's what studios need to hear. So now even more people are going to have that. So you're going to have more challengers potentially. That just means even the best will have to go out, because now instead of 1 million, there's 3 million. And so the creme de la creme may rise, or maybe it'll be bought and paid for. But either way, people will create good music, whether or not they get that royalty and that prestige, and whether they want it or not. And lastly, faster iteration could mean more creative risk-taking in songwriting, meaning, and I know when I've worked on a song, you're afraid to release it because that's the shot. And you have so many ideas about it in your head and so many different things you could do. Now you can do 50 ideas in one day and see what you think. Let other people see what they think. Feel the communities that might resonate with that version or that version or that version. If you are authentic about it, it's an interesting concept. And then obviously I think that people can take it another direction where they're copying people's culture just to sell to them. Now, it's always going to be about intent. And I think the bigger studios and larger musicians might have more attacks towards them for those things because they're raking in millions. So I again say, small creators, authenticity, even if you use AI, going to be a big, I think, differentiating factor. So that's something to keep in mind. Would you use AI to replace a human vocalist in a track, or just for demos, or wouldn't you touch it at all? Does it make you angry when it comes through your studio doors? Let me know. I want to hear from you in the comments. I'd appreciate getting the chat going. And hopefully once we reach 50 subscribers, I'd appreciate you if you hit the subscribe button. We just need 50, and we'll be doing these guys live every week. So we'll be able to take questions live. We'll be able to discuss things live. We'll be able to get into some more detail on things, maybe have some people call in and chat. That's really what I'd love to do here, is really get a community of people going, because me talking to a camera is not as fun as me hearing from you guys as well. Number 3, we're going to talk about Spotify is actually fighting AI spam, which is an interesting thing that people may not have expected. So they've been busy cleaning house. So 75 million spam tracks were removed in the past year. They also were rolling out filters and encouraging voluntary disclosure of AI usage in music. That's what we were talking about, voluntarily. Why? Because AI-generated music is exploding, and it's not all adding up to value, I guess, for Spotify, which is probably what they're thinking about, but in general from the music listener. So some of it is, literally noise. I mean, noise made to game the algorithm. And I would even venture to guess that some intelligent person is going to come up with some specific sound wave, sine wave that touches the algorithm the right way to push it, and it's literally nothing. I mean, these are the kind of games we may be entering into. So I think that that's actually bothering Spotify, because it's truly, when somebody gets to it, they're like, what is Spotify doing? It's ruining their brand. I think the stuff that's noted as AI, or that's actually good and nobody can tell, doesn't bother them, because it's not an ethical or artistic problem for them, I would gather. It's just a financial keep you on the platform problem. So as long as the music is good, fake, real or not, produced by you or produced by Spotify, if it's keeping you on the platform, I think they're happy. So you want to keep that in mind when they're, saying about how good they are with this. I mean, it's good. We'll take it, obviously. But you want to keep realistic about it. So for musicians, it's going to be a double-edged sword, because on one hand, it's going to protect real artists from being drowned out by spam, and again, who's real? It's up to you. On the other hand, it's going to signal that AI content is going to be scrutinized, and transparency about AI is going to maybe become a requirement, not a choice. But I actually think it might go the other way, as we blend so far in that saying something is AI and not is going to become so blurry and indefinable that you're going to say, like, that one was Photoshop. That one, it's in there. It's in the cake, So what are the artist implications? What are the implications for musicians, studio producers, mixers? So independent artists are going to need to monitor how AI is represented on streaming platforms. So like I said, you're going to have to see, if you make AI, will you have to mention it? Are you going to mention it in your authenticity? Are you going to throw it out there on YouTube? Are you trying to game the system? You got to think about who you are and what you're doing it for. So you need to keep monitoring where and what you can do. Different platforms do different things. Deezer, for example, is loaded with AI music compared to Spotify, but it is a smaller platform. So each platform is going to maybe start to take on its own format a little bit. Number 2, you're going to want to watch the overuse of AI without disclosure, because it could create a problem with your credibility and your reach, both algorithmically on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you put it, but also just people are not going to resonate with that. They're not going to resonate with lies and scumminess, and they just never do. You get away with it for a while. You always get caught. Your brand is garbage. You're done for. Be you. Be real. Take a few low checks for a few years so you can take a good, solid check that you can sleep on years down the line. I think that's an important thing. And remember, opportunities are going to exist for ethically labeled AI music to stand out. So if you are a purely AI creator, I don't mean, you have a place here too, in this podcast, in this chat. So you're able to create. Just be honest about it if that's your approach, or if your approach is something unique and you're not necessarily being dishonest, but you're doing a test, you're doing an artistic play, you're creating a story, and AI maybe is playing a role in that, and it's not supposed to be told. I get that. Play the game. It's an interesting world. Artists are supposed to break down ideas and walls and try new things. I think that's what AI is going to help us do. They'll be bad, they'll be good. What are your takeaways for this? Know the platform rules. It is not AI content, set it and forget it. We kind of mentioned that. Number 2, transparency is going to become your marketing edge. It's always been transparency and authenticity, will always remain that. And curated AI music, number 3, could be an emerging niche for proactive creators. So creative. So AI music is going to become its own niche. Don't be afraid of it. Maybe incorporate it. Maybe totally separate it. Maybe you have an album that's AI, and this is all you. Everything's allowed. Everything's open. It's the Wild West in a lot of ways. Have at it. Now your question. Would you openly label a song as AI assisted or keep it under wraps to avoid bias? We talked about what I think about that, but where are you at in your project? Are you ashamed of it? Are you proud of it? Are you engaging with it as a part of new art? How much pushback are you getting? Are your musician friends upset with you? Do they call you a sellout? I would really love to hear what people's actual experiences are, because we hear a lot about how AI is being consumed through news articles, but I want to hear from you guys. What are you experiencing with your use or lack of use thereof? Please leave a comment or send me a DM. I'd love to chat about it. Now, our fourth story. This one was gonna happen. Zania Monet, an AI-generated artist who just signed a $3 million record deal and charted on Billboard. So it's not sci-fi, it's reality. AI is not just assisting artists anymore, it is literally creating them. So she has fully created AI. Culturally, it's a huge thing. There are fans are now engaging with the music that they actively know is AI created. And that's what it goes back to. No, she's not real. Her images, her speech, her music, she's fake. We're having fun. That's the message. For musicians and producers, it's going to be an opportunity and a challenge like everything else. How are you going to compete or collaborate with an entity that doesn't sleep, age, or negotiate royalties? Well, you have the same tools as she does, and again, it's another genre. Some people are not interested in fully AI music. It's an experience. It's like, I used to love the Spice Girls, all right? When I talk about Bob Dylan next to the Spice Girls, it's a totally different conversation. Did I like going out there, watching the moves go, and the lights happen, and the songs, and it's all one big thing? Yeah, that's that thing. And so, in the same way, I believe that the AI musicians will be an interesting game to play. Maybe you go see and they had the Tupac hologram similarly. Add it to the hologram, make it a fully digital show, make it a future craziness story, dive into it, get the whole thing going, put it into Disney World. People still gonna want to hear you on an acoustic from time to time. And so we live in that world now. Keep your head up. So what are the artist implications? We kind of went over them already. AI is a collaborator and a very direct competitor now. She is a specifically AI human. She is your competitor. That's okay. One more competitor on this earth. Branding, story, and human connection may become your differentiators. And I don't mean to say may, they will. You must be a brand. And I hate to say it that way, but you have to. Brand is just you all over the place, all the time. Just let them know. You don't got to sell it. You don't got to pick the right colors. You just do the thing you do. That's your brand. Hone in on it. Okay? Your story, your real story, your humanity, that is your differentiator, especially in the world of AI. It will always be that. And revenue models are going to shift if labels invest heavily in AI-created acts. That's going to happen. Money is going to change where it goes. But in the new world, we have a lot more paths to make our own money if we are smart about it, if we understand what we're trying to go for, if we write real goals. So for what we will lose in the studio scene with some of those really nice contracts and managers that they all signed and all the musicians were super happy about in the past, maybe we lose some of that and you go a different direction. So take the positive approach. Try to go into the positive route because whatever it is, it's here. Now, your specific takeaways. AI-generated acts could reshape how labels scout and invest in talent. Maybe a lot less scouting now if they can create talent. You know, which one of the studios goes to, you know what, we're just going to do AI now. Which one goes to, no, we're doing fully human. Which one goes half and half. That's going to be an interesting dynamic studio production-wise. Human creativity, as number 2, is going to maybe pivot toward emotional storytelling and authenticity. We've had a lot of big pop hits, lots. They sounded cool and we all wanted to sound like them. Now everybody can kind of really easily make the pop hits. Those are sort of the easiest to copy because there's so much of it and the production is so specific and sellable. people lean towards it, meaning maybe we'll actually get back some of the stuff we lost in that cheapening by actually having too much of it. That'd be an interesting effect. Number 3, experimenting with AI collaborations could be both a marketing and an artistic tool. So maybe you just use AI for your marketing. Maybe you let people know. Maybe you collaborate for real. It's up to you. Our last story here is going to be ethics in AI music. Ethics comes up every week, probably going to come up for a long time. So finally, it's a surprise twist. will.i.am is teaching an AI ethics course at ASU called The Agentic Self. That is right, will.i.am. You remember him from the Super Bowl and from some of those great songs. He is now a professor. Maybe a little bit funny, but possibly he actually has something to teach on this front. He does come from a very specific world of production and type of music. So it signals that the music industry leaders are taking AI seriously and AI ethics pretty seriously, at least at the college level. They're not running from it, which was a fear I had, that education institutions wouldn't be able to adapt fast enough. But at least higher education is at least incorporating these things. But I think it largely has to do with what the students are asking for. But it is good that they're supplying that. It's not just about the tools or profits. It's going to be about responsibility. So consent, ownership, and impact on culture. And I think it can tie a lot to the sampling culture and a lot of those musical genres. It's all, a long line of the same concept, and this is the newest development. And in a lot of ways, he may be able to speak on that in an interesting way. So for artists and musicians, understanding ethical AI use will be as critical as knowing chords or software. It's going to be a new literacy for creators that are entering the AI arena. So what are your specific implications as a musician? 1, ethics education can protect reputations and careers. So you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to do it on purpose. Like I said, even the tools you're using, understand what the contracts say, understand where it's being used. At any moment, a gavel might drop and change everything you thought was going one way. Transparency in AI use is going to build trust in your fans. So that's going to go back to the ethics of it, speaking to it, understanding that your audience is intelligent and wants to know what's going on, especially in this new culture. There used to be a coolness about not being seen in the old days. Now that's not really an option for musicians. If you want to be somewhere, they want to see how you cook your eggs. They want to see what trip you went on. They want to see it all. Ethical foresight is going to become a competitive advantage. That's your other takeaway. So if you're able to think authentically about what you're doing now, what's going to happen in the future, if you're honest with your audience, that's going to define the difference, because so many more scumbags are now going to be empowered with these tools to do terrible things. Obviously, now you have millions of bots doing bad things. So when you stand out, you have to stand out. Okay, you got to do the right thing from the start and move forward that way. It's going to be a competitive advantage in this landscape, honesty. So what are your 3 specific takeaways from this article? Ethics is not going to be optional. It's going to be legal too if you don't want to hear it that way. But it's becoming a central part of this professional practice. We're going to have to stay looking at what we choose to use, how we use it, how we credit people, and what we consider authentic. You got to be up to date on it more than you have been before. Secondly, proactive artists will set the standard for responsible AI use. So if you want to see change, you be the change. And it's true, if the biggest artists are doing the right things, they carry the money, they carry the power, they can lead. And if you're given that, lead the right way. And even if you have no power, even if you're just a guy producing some song about something, be honest with yourself. I only got 11 viewers right now, and God bless those 11 viewers. I'm here trying to be honest. Hopefully tomorrow it'll be 12. That's all you can do. And just keep on doing it. And lastly, understanding AI's impact is as important as mastering any instrument. Unfortunately, it was only your guitar in the past. Then you had to be a singer-songwriter. Then you had to record it real quick. Then you had to be a mixer. Then you had to produce it. And now you have to understand ethics. You have to understand AI. It's just the way the world works. We have more tools now, more options, and sometimes more constriction, but it depends on how you look at it. So for your final question, how much should ethics influence your decision to use AI in your music? I've been talking a lot about the importance of it. I want to hear, am I talking too much about it? Am I worried too much about ethics? For me, I think it's also going to be a legal problem, and I think ethics are going to be forced on you, if you are intentionally doing a thing or even unintentionally. When the gavel drops and the law changes, we're stuck under the ethics of that. So keep your head on, keep watching what you're doing, watch what the companies are saying, how they're moving, what's legally written, what your rights are when you use AI tools. Or if you don't use AI tools, understand those things and your competition. So let me know what you guys think and how far you go with the ethics. So it's closing. What ties all of this together? The headline is going to be simple. AI is no longer a tool. It's a collaborator, a competitor on the Billboard charts, and an industry game changer. So from pedals like the OnePedal that are going to clone Hendrix to AI artists that are charting on Billboard, Spotify cleaning spam to will.i.am teaching AI ethics, the rules of the game are evolving and fast. So before we head out, I want to give you guys a couple things that you can take a look at or specifically do between the next episode. I'd love to see you guys experiment, try AI tools like the OnePedal. If you can't get your hands on the physical, get some AI pedaling, mess with it. Resing to expand your creative toolkit. Stay informed between us, because we're going to get you next week with the information. So track streaming platform policies and ethical guidelines, and I'll be here to update you with that stuff. Be transparent. Label your AI-assisted work when possible. It's going to build credibility. If you have any kind of following, ask your following how they feel about AI. How would they feel about you using it? If you're worried about it, explain how you would use it, for what, and let me know how that goes. And number 4, think collaboration. Consider it a co-creator, not just a shortcut. It doesn't have to be a consistent co-creator. Could just be this one time, just as an experiment, but give it a shot. Pick a tool, play with it, let me know how it went, and come back next week so we can talk about it. So remember, as always, knowledge is going to be power, and that's what we try to give you here. So you can choose to harness the AI, critique it, or simply observe it, but the key is to understand how it's changing the music ecosystem. And one more thing before we sign off, I want to know what story, tool, or trend from today are you most excited about or worried about. I'd love it if you dropped a comment, if you tag the buddy that's a musician, an artist, or just let it marinate, while you work on your hit record and your next track. So my name is Chris again, and this has been AIX Music. I appreciate you sticking around, and I will see you guys next week.